Hey y'all, it's Michael. These are the books that I read in January 2024. All right, well, I get y'all in here and defrost this car. Hold up, give me a second. It's here, y'all. All right. I thought I would try out this style of wrap up so that way my camera won't overheat and it'll be kind of like a vlog almost like a vlog. It's a little bit chilly. It's a bit chilly. So I'm gonna talk a little bit loud because you guys can hear me. So the first book, let me pull it up right here. The first book that I read was My Year of Rest and Relaxation by Ottessa Moshfegh. Now technically I finished this on the 31st of December, but counting it in. This book, I was in the middle. You're gonna hear me say that a lot for the first few books. I'm gonna let y'all know now, just to let y'all know. I was in the middle about this, so technically 2.535 out of 5 stars. I think I can turn it down a little bit. Overall, I actually enjoyed it because this is a very satirical, humorous type of book, but also kind of like sad. This is about our narrator who basically wants to like sleep and relax for a year. Like she just literally just wants to sleep forever, which I mean, sounds great. She does this by having medication and like various substances and whatnot from her therapist who gives it to her. And this is one of those books where I feel like it's popular and I can see why. Like it's very popular in the I don't know what side of TikTok that would what side of book talk that would be. Like what? Sad girl TikTok, sad book, like that girly book talk. Like I've seen it around on that, like those type of lists. And I can definitely see why. One thing that I do admire is the writing is very sharp. Like it is quick-witted, and I'm not gonna lie, there are some really funny parts in here. I was like, that's funny. Because you can tell it's funny without being trying to be funny. Like it's just funny because the situation is funny, the delivery is funny, and I was like, oh, I see what you're doing. I think I'm in the middle about this because it really doesn't, for me, push it far enough to be like, oh my god, you need to read this. It's easy to recommend. I don't know how to say this, but it's just, I can see why it's popular, and I can see what people say about it. For me, it just doesn't push it far enough, and especially towards the middle. Once you figure out how can I spoil it? I'm not spoil this. They mention something, and it's like, oh, it's obvious where that storyline is gonna go. Because she does have a friend, and the unreliability and the unlikability of the main character, of the narrator, in relationship with her friend is actually really like fascinating in a way, because it's like their friendship has like, well, I hesitate to say that friendship, but their relationship has like layers that I find I was like, okay. So yeah, I was in the middle, and that's the thing about a lot of these books. When you're in the middle about it, you don't really have that much to say, because for me anyways, the negativity outweigh, like it really the negativity, well, I want to say the not so good parts balances the good part. Like it's balanced for me, so I put it in the middle, 2.535 out of stars. So yeah, the good thing about making these type of videos is that if I have any like any thoughts later on about a book that I just talked about, I can edit it in. Hey. All right, so the next book that I finished is How High We Go in the Dark by Sequoia Nagamatsu. Hold on, let me get give me a sec. Hold up, y'all. Let me get in here because what is going on this side of town? Okay, all right, so the next book. You know what? Did I enjoy this? Again. I was in the middle. What's my hair do? I was in the middle. It was fine. So this book, first off, it's a various collections of stories, but they're all connected essentially. It starts off with basically a sort of like a plague, like a virus, goes out into the world. So this is like a pandemic book, and we basically follow different stories that all connect essentially. I don't think that's a spoiler, but as we see how humans essentially cope with this disease or this virus. Yeah, without giving too much away. This actually has its moments, but then it also, I don't think it gels as well as it could have. The writing is fine to me, and there are moments in here, like there is one short story in here that is actually really good. My favorite is personally the one with the pig. I really enjoyed that. That was one of my favorite stories on there. The one involving the pig. I really like that one. And then there's one also with a revelation where I try not to spoil too much because I went into this one blind. But there was one that involved kind of like where you find out the history, like the true meaning of how the virus gets started. I keep saying virus, but it's more than that. Especially the stories with the kids that is really sad. And this is different in the sense because like we actually follow them as they span like millennia almost. But overall, for me, this really didn't do anything. Like, this book was, in my opinion, like really just in the middle. It doesn't push it far enough for me to be like, oh my god, you need to read it. And I truly don't understand. You're gonna hear me say that on the next one. I don't get the god, y'all, I'm gonna sound like I'm a bit, but I really don't understand the hype for this because I was like, okay. After I finished it, I was just like, okay, like I finished it. Okay. Yeah, so I'm downtown because I'm gonna meet up my sister. I forgot that this weekend is thespian weekend, and I was like, bruh, these thespians, y'all, there are kids everywhere. It's packed down here. But while I wait for my sister, I'm gonna tell you about the next book that I finished, which was House of Stone by Novella Rosa Suma. Y'all, this was actually pretty good. This book essentially takes parts in 3 books, like 3 parts. And for me, I think the second and the third part is much better than, I personally enjoyed it more than the beginning. Because once the story gets going, it gets really good. The writing is sharp and it has this flow to it that I really enjoyed. But I think in the beginning, it really stumbles because it's almost like it has to establish a lot. And I think it stumbles in that sense. And I say that because something about, for me, the flow, it just wasn't flowing for me as much as the later half of the story. This is basically a history of Zimbabwe through the stories of told through Zamani. So he's the main point of view. He's taking stories from this couple, Agnes and, okay, I wrote it down right here. So Abednego. Yes, so they're a couple and he's taking stories from them to figure out, like, to write a story about, like, the history of their lives, essentially. That's because their son is missing. And so while he's trying to help them find their son, he's also self-serving and writing a story about their lives so he can use it essentially. And I think that is actually one fault. I think from the storytelling perspective, I kind of wish that Zamani took a little bit more step back. When we are finding stories about Abednego and Agnes, they're really good. And this book doesn't shy away from the brutality of the country's history, because I was like, whoa, it is brutal. And like the revelations that unfolds, I thought it was riveting. Like, I was like, oh my god, now it is incredibly violent. Like, there is genocide in here. Like, it is really violent. Like, there is no shyness, especially with the descriptions about what happened in the history of the country. I was like, oh my god. But it's also told, well, it's told in a way that I felt like the author themselves had like sensitivity, but it's also coming from this character who doesn't have the most purest of intent. But man, when the second 2/3, when I tell you, when the story gets going, it gets going. I was like glued to the page. It was really good because I really wanted to find out what was going to what had happened and what will happen. Because once the certain characters start appearing and starts to challenge Zamani, I was like, it's really good in that regard, and I really enjoyed it. Again, and there are also some beautiful passages. I was like, oh yes, we're going. But I just felt like the first third wasn't as great as the later half. But yeah, overall, I really enjoyed it. I was like, as much as you can enjoy about the topic, but I thought it was a really good. I thought it was a good book. I enjoyed it. Hi. Hi. Go
ahead, Serena.
Come on, this way. The sidewalk's broken. Yay. Y'all, we're away from the thespians.
Maybe a lot.
Naomi.
Is it a bit chilly?
It's a bit chilly.
What you got?
Oh, your hair, girl.
Eat your chicken nugget. One of the fries.
All right, they're going to go get some ice cream right over there. And while I do that, let me talk to y'all about the next book. Oh, y'all, I think I'm liking this. This style of wrap up. Okay, so the next book that I read was Prophet Song by Paul Lynch. I wanted to read this because this. Can y'all hear me? Hold on, let me check to see because you might not be able to hear me with the music.
Omi?
I know. Why your legs spread out like that? Like a man. All right, y'all. I'm gonna go home now because I gotta go babysit. But I'll talk more about, as I was saying, because it was too loud in there, y'all. Well, not in there, but out there, because there was music playing. And first off, I don't want to get copyrighted. But also, yeah, y'all won't be able to hear me. Yeah, I came home, I fell asleep, and I was knocked. I was knocked. Okay, good knocked. So what I'm gonna do right now is I'm gonna start I'm preparing a side. It's basically like a cucumber and tomatoes. It's like a little side thingy. Got some cucumber over here I'm gonna chop up. So I thought I would talk to you about the next book. First off, I'm really enjoying this format. Let me know how y'all are liking it or not liking it. I'll see how it goes. Cucumbers. Y'all, I saw this TikTok where it was like, they pickle everything. How come they don't pickle cucumbers? And I was like, bruh. All right, the next thing that I read was Prophet Song by Paul Lynch. I'm kind of glad I'm doing this right now with a knife in my hand, so that way I won't go too crazy on this and I won't go too harsh. All right, so the reason why I wanted to pick this up was because it won the Man Booker, and I was like, ooh, I want to read that. So I placed a hold on at my library, and I was like, okay, the book came in the hold came on all of a sudden. So I was like, oh, okay, I gotta go read it now because someone also has it on the wait list, so I can't renew it. And so I started it. Let me just preface this by saying I have a rocky relationship with book awards. And I say this because a lot of it are just, how can I say this nicely? A lot of it are what I love. Okay? I love that book awards, we get to acknowledge like the recommendations, top tier. Like I love that we get to be exposed to authors and works that we wouldn't normally be exposed to. Like when the nomination list hits, like, oh, okay, this is fun, yay! So that's great. But wait, hold on, my sister's texting me because she got the tomatoes. Hold up. There's that, and sometimes the winners, well, sometimes the nominations are sketchy at best, and sometimes the winners are super sketchy at best. Because a lot of times I'm wondering, like, this is a winner? And that's how I felt at the end when I finished this book. I was like, this is the winner? This was the best written novel English language in 2023. I was bamboozled. I was confused. I am confusion. Because I truly... Yo, this hits. And it's so sour too. Let me taste it. The bad thing about this is like I get distracted easily. I need some salt. I need some vinegar. Okay, hold on, give me a second. Let me get this tomato. Hey y'all, ooh, it was getting hot. I got some tomatoes from my sister. She talking about, yeah, some of it is soft. I don't know, it's not the best in condition. Girl, it's real soft, but whatever. It don't matter. As I was saying, yeah, Prophet Song. So this is about, I generally don't understand how it won the Man Booker Prize. Like, no shade, but kind of shade. You mean to tell me that this is supposed to stand in the greats? I put this on my on my thread. Follow me on there because I tweet about book stuff. Whatever. Like, it's supposed to be as good as like A Brief History of Seven Killings. Like, it's supposed to be as good as Disgrace. Like, it's supposed to be as good as... Oh, actually, these tomatoes aren't that bad. Girl, Woman, Other... Like, okay. So, yeah, there's that. Anyways, so this book is about a mom, Eilish, and basically, long story short, it's kind of like a governmental regime takes over as we follow her life essentially and see what it happens. Now, this book is structured in a way where it's like it's very, there's no quotation mark, no like breaks, no nothing. It's like a whole bunch of long paragraphs and the words and everything gets mushed together. So I am gonna Okay, yeah. These tomatoes they're fine. It creates this atmospheric kind of like intense mood, which is conveyed really well. I will give it that, because it feels like, especially for me as someone who reads with like a rhythm in their head when I read, it gives this like continuous, like it's really intense in that regard. So I do commend it for that. There are some parts in here though, my main issues is that like sometimes the writing to me felt very just like, okay. Because if you know anything, like I hate it. I don't like it when writers like don't give variety of sentences, and it just feels like, okay, like let's change it up. And I always mention this because a lot of writers do it where it's like subject verb, subject verb, subject verb, and it annoys me so much. Personally for me, it takes me out of the story. And not even with like what this book does, like it's just some of it was baffling for me. First off, she's a biologist and whatnot, and she works at a science place, and it really threw me off when someone mentions that the government is listening onto their phone because obviously this government is about to take over, and she was really confused. She's like, "What? No way!" And I'm like, "Girl, you like that is possible. They are listening to me right now. This Amazon Alexa is literally listening to me right now, and you're probably like, no, it's listening to me right now. It really is. Like it really is. It really is. So I was like, okay, sure, fine, that's fine. Okay, okay. You know what? Some people don't understand that. Okay, sure, fine. But some of the questions that I don't know, and sometimes it needs more salt and vinegar. Where's the vinegar? Okay, I think it's outside. It just really baffled me on some of the character development choices that was made. In the end, I was just in the middle. There are some good parts because I love the tension. That's I think what I enjoyed the most, especially as the government really does take over. But to me, it just wasn't like, oh my God, you need to read this. Yes. It's a little salad. It has tomatoes, cucumbers, and some onions. My breath stank right now. I have one more book to talk about. I'm gonna do it after I eat and start my skincare. And the best thing about this is like the marination. Oh yeah. All right, y'all, I'm gonna shave and I got my eye mask on. Okay, so I'm gonna talk about the last book, which was my favorite. And it is The Rainbow by D.H. Lawrence. Oh my God, I love this so much. I actually finished this on the 1st of February, but I'm gonna still count it on here because, I mean, why not? You know what, I'll do my thing right here. I was actually close on finishing it for January, but, you know, it wasn't close enough. I need my mirror. Okay, y'all, first off, oh my God, this book was amazing. Hold on. I thought this would be much easier doing this while shaving and talking, but apparently, I'm not gonna lie, this is kind of hard. I realize this takes a lot of concentration. So I'm gonna come back and talk to you because apparently this might not be ideal to talk while I am shaving because I don't want to cut myself, because I am known. That's one of the reasons why I shave at night, is because I cut myself easily, and so in the morning I don't want to do it in the morning because then, you know, I'm just gonna be bleeding. All right, y'all, let me just finish up this this video because I was like, shaving, this ain't working while I move my mouth apparently. But yes, here it is, The Rainbow by D.H. Lawrence. This, as I was saying in the bathroom, this was amazing. 5 stars out of 5. I loved it. Like, I wanted to read the next book because there's a sequel to this. Oh my God, this was just incredible. This is a type of book where it reminds me so much of why I read and I do this stuff with books, because this was an incredible story. So this is basically a family saga of the Bronxwyn family. I just have so many thoughts. It's okay. So I bought this book years ago at a Goodwill, I think, or somewhere. I that's how long it's been, y'all. It has been that long, and I was like, okay, sure, why not? First off, the cover's intriguing. I was like, okay. I knew nothing about Lawrence, and I was like, okay, y'all. new author. Like I want to read his catalog. Let me pause here actually for a second. While I love this book, I can tell it's not for everyone, okay, y'all? It really isn't. Because I think that goes with the writing style. So this book, we follow the Bronxman family all the way up to the technically would be the great granddaughter, Ursula. She takes majority of the novel as we follow her through her life. Well, I guess that would be more of a Regency bias because she's the last person that we follow on here. We don't actually follow each member of the family. We only follow a select few. And what I love most about this novel, it's the writing style that goes along with just how it conveys love. This story, I'm switching head back and forth. I should put this on a tripod. Just conveys love in the most beautifulest of ways. I think that's probably why one of the ways it was banned. But it was also banned probably because the way it also talks about religion, it's so interesting and fascinating. And when it comes to the writing, it's just so beautiful. And now, I'm not gonna lie, the main reason why I don't recommend this to everyone is because it is kind of overwritten. It's very superfluous, super flowery. So if you don't like that type of writing, I wouldn't recommend this for you, because that's the whole thing. But for me, the way that this goes with like the word choices and in a few simple few simple paragraphs, the way that Lawrence is able to just emote like this feeling, I think that's what it is. This book was for me just vibes. It was literally just vibes, and I loved it so much. The way that this talks about not just even love, but the generality of like life, it is so good. There like even a part in here where a character is wanting to just like this yearning of also the yearn. So good, the yearning. Giggling again, but even like the yearning of just like wanting to get out of her town. She just, the way it's described as like this this isolation, this box, it's so beautiful. But then there's this part where one of the characters is like, you'll be surprised of the world that you're about to step in, this world of men. And the way that Lawrence writes these characters are so complex, and they have this ebb of flow. They're definitely not they're not perfect. They have a lot of them has flaws. I mean, I was like, sir, what are you doing? Or like even like Ursula, there's this part in here where she just discovers about she's a woman, and she talks about being in this world that's essentially, especially during this time, not cater to her. Like they're just so beautiful. Like even the part where she's just like taking off her gloves and he's right there, and the way that like the feeling of love, I was like, oh. There are so many moments in here where I was feet up, kicking, screaming, giggling. It was so cute. Listen to this. And she loved the intent, far look of his eyes when they rested on her, intent, yet far, not near, not with her. And she wanted to bring them near. She wanted his eyes to come to hers, to know her. And they would not. They remain intent and far and proud like a hawk's, naive and humane as a hawk's. It just... Yo, there's even this part in here, giggly screaming, where they were... like where... I'm just giggling because it's so good. But like, there's this part in here where they were just having adult fun times the whole day, and the way that it's described as like, you're like lazy but just so intense and like, I loved it. I loved it, yo. Also another part in here. I know, I'm just so joking. Yeah. The part where they're at the beach. But here's the gag though. Here's the gag, y'all. It's never explicit, like in a way where it's vulgar or just like so obvious. Because there's never a moment where in here where it just describes just the act of just the act of love and sex, like the act of it. This I was like, yeah, there were loved it, love, 5 stars. This was one of the stories to beat this. Like, I loved it. So yeah, if you read any of those books, let me know. I would love to hear your thoughts. Like, I really want to. And let me know how you like this. We'll see. But yes, until then, I'll see you guys till next time. Bye!